This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
Ladies and gentlemen, today on the podcast we have Jeremy Macy. We're sports, dude. I gotta come in with a do 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 do.
You need like sound effects or something so that like cues you in.
I gotta talk the boys out there and doing it for me, right? It'd be cool to have like the spinning light in here, like at the start of every jazz game. Right? Just like
yeah, like the different lights moving back and forth. Yeah.
Makes it fun, right? Thanks for coming on the podcast, dude.
Yeah. Dude, thanks for having me. I appreciate you, dude.
So what people don't know about Jeremy, I'm going to put this in your title. He's my shoe guy. He's my shoe baron. He's my shoe czar. He's the guy I go to my shoes now. It makes me look spiffy.
There you go.
So you and I, the current shoes you're wearing, and why don't you explain them?
Yeah, so the shoes that I'm wearing are the Nike Off-Whites, the Chicago Off-Whites. They normally retail around like $5,000 to $7,000. Just depends on your shoe size. Yeah, so, dude, it honestly, I love the sneaker. Like, I really gotten into it. Michael McHenry originally introduced me to JSM Customs. And, dude, that guy blew my mind on the stuff that he does. It's insane.
Well, and you've got, so what are the ones that I'm wearing? I know these are the Off-Whites. Mm-hmm. Do you know what they are?
I think yours are the Off-Whites Air Force Ones. Whites.
I think you're right.
Yeah, because I just got you the black pair, the black version of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm loving them. And those Prestos that I got.
Oh, dude.
So my brother Brett, to be fair, a couple of years ago got me my first pair of Off-Whites, right?
Okay.
They're sick. They're a blazer, you know, they're like $3,200 retail or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I've never worn them. Well, not one damn time because it's like, I'm not going to wear a $3,200 pair of shoes. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And these ones right here, I think on StockX, we're rocking what, $2,400?
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. You and I are rocking, you know, well, you just brought me 2 more pairs of shoes, right? So we've got, we've got, I don't know, what, $12,000 worth of shoes?
Oh, dude, probably more than that. Like if you were to look at the retail value of that, about $12,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mel just ordered like a 10 pair and those retail probably over 100,000. Like if you were to buy them straight.
Isn't that crazy?
Just nuts, dude. There's so much money in the shoe game. And then like the custom guy, dude, he charges ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
Is that how you had to do the We Are the They customs?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was McHenry's dude, and so he did an awesome job. He just made it super simple, really easy. And the dude did everything for the All-Stars. He actually did some like custom things for Travis Scott, Post Malone. Like, the dude's a big hitter in the industry. It's crazy. And then he lives in like the middle of nowhere in Utah.
So you know the green Jordans that McHenry had done with the lightning bolt?
Yeah.
I have a pair of them and it says President McCormack on the inside, dude. He gave them to me as a gift and I'm just like, these are so freaking sick, dude.
Do you ever wear them? Have you ever worn them?
I've worn them 3 times.
Okay.
So, but dude, I'm telling you, I'm becoming a sneakerhead because of you and your Brett and McHenry, basically, right? My brother Brett.
Oh, dude.
It's funny, dude, because gosh damn, dude, it's so hard to spend money on and the reason why we did it, you're getting us a good deal on shoes, right? That's
yeah.
We're not all paying, retail freaking price.
No, for sure.
But I'm telling you, so I was in Denver yesterday, but on Wednesdays when I traveled out there, I was wearing my other shoes and dude, people are just, one of them 30, 40 people are like, damn, bro, are those real? And you're like, absolutely. And they're like, shit, I cannot believe you're wearing those things.
That's what I love about sneakers is that like guys that actually really like them and enjoy them, they'll call it out. It's almost a conversation starter. Like it breaks the ice. They're like, damn, what are you wearing? Like, I love it. I just love that aspect. Like, it's not necessarily the vanity of like the high end shoes. It's just that you're catching attention, right? Yeah. You're catching the attention and then you're able to break down barriers just immediately. So I love that.
Well, and they're sick.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I actually, let's be honest, I feel special when I wear them.
Dude, me too. Pretty. Yeah. I feel pretty.
That was just fun, dude. Like what an amazing ride.
Dude, it has been. It really has. How's like you got into Watt because of Mark and Nick, right?
Yeah.
Or Max and Nick.
Max and Nick, yeah. Yeah, Max. I think Max had got in because of Jake Waldrum.
Okay.
Jake got in because they're pickleball buddies, right?
Okay.
Plunging in pickleball. These two guys love the peas. And Max loves it, dude. I always bust his balls about cold plunging, dude. It's like a little thing we do.
That's awesome.
And then Nick was trying to talk me into it too, and I was just like, I don't need to be motivated, because a lot of these things, like these mastermind weekends, people drop big money for them, and I'm like, I don't know, man. This is a lot of money for you to go raw, and then me like walk out the door and go, I didn't learn anything. I feel slightly more motivated, but I'm already at like a level 9 motivation anyway. So,
well, you're kind of a super achiever, right? We were talking about that, your Boy Scout upbringing and all of that.
That's true. Yeah. I do like to have a task and accomplish it. I think I learned that through Boy Scouts, a little bit through elementary school, right? Like I like to get my worksheet. I like to get it done, and then what's the next thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think my parents brought me up in the world where if I got my work done, then I was free, right? And so get this done free, get this done free, get this done free. And so I just got efficient at doing stuff. And it served me well throughout my life. LDS mission, loved my LDS mission, even though I don't participate in the religion anymore. But that was good for me, right? That was a very, 15-minute increments every single day for 2 years are planned out and goal-oriented, and you're going to hit your goals. You're going to be responsible for your goals. Like all that stuff kind of cultivated into me. And the Buttercream Gang.
And the Buttercream
I'm not joking, dude.
Really?
Yeah. Have you ever seen that show?
No.
So have you ever heard of the company called Feature Films for Families?
I
think it was an LDS thing. I'm pretty sure it was, but they like made these like little movies, right? Like hour and a half movies that were like very like family oriented, right? Like Rigoletto was one, the Buttercream Gang. Gotta remember all of them. One of them, this kid like buys his girlfriend's dad's stock, before they made this big announcement, he becomes like a millionaire and buys a Ferrari. But then the father-in-law is going to go down for insider trading, so he gives it all back. And it's like, that's not how that works in real life, but okay. It was like some school assignment, and he accidentally bought real stock. And 100x or something crazy. It's all these like little like good, good feeling movies, right? But the Buttercream Gang, it was so my wife and I, because I view myself as a kind of a unique, weird dude, right? Like just the way I view the world, the way I interact with people.
You are super unique.
It's unique, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the Buttercream Gang. I had to get the freaking DVD, dude. It is like hard to watch because it's so fuzzy and old and stuff, right? And I was watching with my kids, and we're just laughing because it's about these like 3 kids, and they have their one buddy. And they're like the greatest kids ever, right? They're always like helping the grandma and like taking a pie across the city, and they ride their bikes everywhere. And, everyone looks up to them, and they help this girl get her cat out of a tree. It's like all this like really light service oriented crap, right? Then the one buddy moves to Chicago because his parents get divorced, and it's like dun dun dun, like kind of thing. He comes back kind of a hard ass, so then he starts stealing, and he punches one of the guys, and the guy just like turns the other cheek just like Jesus, and like, they just love this guy no matter what. And 3/4 through the movie, the guy's like, "What do I got to do for you to hate me?" He goes, "I'll never hate you. You're my friend. You can never do anything for me to hate you." And dude, my wife is like jaw on the floor. She's like, "This is your life," and I'm like, ah.
So you got like a lot of your humor from that.
Just in the way, like, I don't know, I just like won't give up on people.
Yeah.
It's like the ultimate friend thing, Not that I haven't, I'm not perfect or anything. And not that you should. Like, people can treat you poorly enough that it's time to go. And then there's times and seasons too, right? Like, there's just like, hey, this was a good run we had for 4 years or 20 years, but like, we've moved apart, and I wish you well, and you kind of moving on. That's kind of, wisdom you learn going on, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's just the funniness in this movie, right? Like the one kid, like the bad kid, like steals a bunch of candy from like the corner store, right? And it's like, Mr. George's store. And so then those other 3 kids go there, then they volunteer to like earn the money back and repay the guy on his behalf.
Oh, okay.
And so this like bad kid's just getting pissed. And so, so at the end of the movie, he runs away and he moves back to Chicago. And I can't remember all the guys' names. I can like see it in my head, right? And he ends up like getting the newspaper for being like a kid that goes back there and like changes the gang culture, right? And then it's just like fades to dark, and the captions come in, the cast and stuff, and it's like, oh well, if you just love people, then they'll turn into amazing people.
Oh my gosh! Was this sponsored by the church?
No, I think it was totally separate. I think it was just some members. I think that were in the movie industry just thought, we're gonna pop out a couple of like good feeling movies, kind of like nowadays, right? Where there's these like alternate channels, to kind of like not involve all like the political stuff and the social political
Or the
stuff.
biasisms that happen.
Yeah, just keep it nice and clean, that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
I can't believe you haven't seen Rigoletto.
Rigoletto.
Oh, bro. Did you grow up LDS? I can't remember.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Okay.
I grew up LDS, went on a LDS mission, all of that.
So we're going to be watching Rigoletto together. And Rigoletto is like a Beauty and the Beast kind of story, but it's like this girl, there's like this castle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is like a total plug for this. I'm going to bring this all back, right? He like lives in like this kind of castle house, right? It's all scary, right? So this girl who's like really nice, comes from a really poor family, goes there to be a like a maid or like a cleaner or something like that. And he's got like half of his face is scarred, right? He's a real asshole.
Oh, so it's like a mixture of between what is Phantom of the Opera? And...
Yeah, a little bit of that. Like he's mean to everybody, and she's an amazing singer, right? And so he's in there, and he's got a little helper, he's got like a little Lumiere, from the Beast. He's like, "You need to be nice to people, sir," blah blah blah. He like is mean to her. She cries, she runs away, and she ends up coming back. Anyways, she starts singing, and he's like, "That's pathetic." Basically, right? She's like, "How dare you? I'm a good singer. I sing in the whatever ward choir or whatever." And she's like, "You're ugly, and you're ugly on the inside," And then he like rolls over to the piano, dude, and he's like, "Dun dun dun, dun dun up from I was young." He gets in this song, which, dude, honestly can make me emotional. I love this music. And anyways, they like foster this friendship as like an older man who's thinks the world hates him, but they really don't. He's just a prick, right?
Yeah.
And she's like this young 16, 17-year-old girl who comes from a poor family, who's lovely and kind, and then she melts his heart a little bit. He helps her become an amazing singer, and I actually think he dies in it, right? If I remember right. There's some dramatic shit at the end of it, right? And then, I think the very end is her singing in this massive competition where people are going crazy. And I think he has like a heart attack and dies.
Oh my gosh.
So that's funny as hell, dude. You're getting the music off of freaking, it's on like Apple Music. So yeah, that's my childhood in a nutshell.
That's awesome, dude. So you're a big movie fan, like because you always talk about like all the different movies that you love, Hook and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Rufio. Oh, that is so dangerous for your parents, dude. So here's a little secret about me. So people think I'm funny. I just say lines from movies that I've seen my whole life. But people haven't seen them now, and I've been alive long enough that people don't get what I'm saying, so they think it's original. Don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anyone. There we go.
Oh,
we'll have to erase that.
I love Hook, dude. Hook's one of my favorite movies. You've seen Hook, right?
Yeah, dude, freaking love Hook. Yeah.
Who's your favorite guy in Hook?
So honestly, I like Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually like Hook and his realization, how he wants to be a father and he wants to try to help, but yet he can't get out of his own way. Like he can't just like, that's so like true to like who we are as humans too. Like sometimes we just can't get out of our own way.
Yeah.
We've created traumatic neural pathways, different things through trauma and the shit that we go through in life.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's actually, yeah, man, there's so many good stories in Hook. Like the son, right? Thinks his dad's kind of a douche, right? So then he like kind of goes to the dark side, right? Then he's like realizes he's like, my dad's Peter Pan. He's all dressed up like Hook, and he's like, boy, or Jack, right? Jack, give me my hook, or whatever.
What was his career? Wasn't it a lawyer? Was he a lawyer?
Yeah.
Anyways,
he was like a high-end corporate attorney. Looking back, it seems like he was like a mergers and acquisitions guy, right? Like he was a big deal, But yeah, I remember the first part where they're like squaring off against each other.
Yeah,
like the cell phone.
and then like all of them are like seeing him leave in the elevator and everything. Like, who does that? Like,
I'll tell you though, dude, I can't watch it without crying. My kids have ruined me, dude. I used to be a hard ass. But like I just see all these things, right? Like
that's a good
thing. You know the story of Peter Pan, he's in love with Wendy.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so in Hook, Wendy is his grandmother. And he ends up marrying Moira, who's his daughter, right?
Yeah.
Or her daughter.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know if you remember that first part where like he's kind of like trying to be too busy and he's all awkward because he's back in Wendy's house and she just goes, boy.
Yeah.
And he like looks up at her, all like, because it's a little interesting because he marries her daughter.
Yeah.
Right? Or is it her granddaughter?
I think it's her daughter.
Oh, it's her daughter, yeah.
Yeah.
Because she comes back and grows up.
Yep.
And
so does he.
But he's still in love with her. Not Wendy, though.
Oh,
so
yeah,
Wendy
yeah, for
comes
sure.
back way before he ends up. So he comes back to visit her, and she's married. And then he's
that's right.
Then he's so in love with her that he comes back, and then he leaves Neverland.
Yeah.
Neverland. And then it's actually Neverland. That's a Chris.
Yeah, it's Neverland.
Yeah, it's Neverland. That's a Chris Rock joke or a Chris Tucker joke. But yeah, so then he comes back and marries the daughter, right? Because it's the closest thing that he could get because he's a boy. You know, I think he's like 13, right, or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he goes back, right? Because do they steal his wife? No, they steal his kids. Sorry,
They steal his kids.
They steal his kids,
That's what makes him go back.
Yeah. And then
Tinkerbell shows up.
Yeah.
Who's also in love with him.
right.
So there's like a whole love triangle type weird thing.
Dude, which is interesting, right? I mean, this is something in society we don't talk a lot about because a lot of the time it's wildly inappropriate, right? But when you get like really tight with people, you do end up loving them.
For sure.
And I think the problem is with the opposite sex. You can really love someone who's a friend who's the opposite sex, but there's inappropriate stuff, especially if you're married, right?
Correct.
Where people blur those lines between like different types of love. You know, it's not love like we should make love to each other. It's love isn't just like that affinity for each other and that like you want to protect them and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
you genuinely care about someone.
Yeah, which when Tinkerbell freaking kisses Peter Pan, right?
Yeah.
You can tell that like when it's like they've romanticized the idea, right? And then they actually do it and they're both like, yeah, that's not
That
the
shouldn't
love.
have
That's not the
happened.
love we have.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, not even that this shouldn't have happened though, but it's almost like they should have done it. But then it both showed them it's like, no, I love my wife. And she's like, yeah, that's not, they didn't hit like I thought it was going to. Like, go get your kids, you know, and then they freaking fly off.
I think that's also like true in life is that not always is the grass greener on the other side, right? Like sometimes you romanticize or you start to get in your head and you start to think like, oh, this person could be better than like what my wife is or whoever. Yeah. And you're like, no, it's really not. Like you really got to appreciate what you do have. And I think that's something that I've learned and want is just really learning to be gracious about what you do have, what's flowing into your life instead of focusing on what other people have, because people look up to you, people look up to Mick Henry and a lot of the other guys and see you guys doing what you guys are doing. But the thing is not to be envious of what you guys have. You can appreciate the work ethic and everything that you guys have done, but you got to be gracious for where you're at and what you're doing. And I think something that we said this weekend that really hit me hard is that we're all at different life paths. We're all at different levels. And like, just because, I mean, you're how old? What, 44, 42, 41?
41, baby.
You're 41. There we go. I was close.
You're close enough, dude. I'm just giving you a hard time.
So 41, and it's like, I mean, you've got 6 or 7 years on me. Yeah. And then on top of that, we've got guys that are always, I think the youngest guy's what, 25?
No, Kelton, bro. Kelton's like 22.
22. And so for them to be like looking at you and be like, I should be where Mark's at. Like, no, you're missing the point. It's like, you're trying to level up yourself and get to where you need to be.
No, that's perfect. And what my advice would be on that is you need to look at me if you view parts of me as things that you want and be like, I can be that.
Yeah.
And you could be it earlier or you can be it later, you know. Like a lot of things that we talk about in our group is I want people to know how much I love my wife.
Yeah.
Right. And why that's important to me and that relationship that I fostered and built. Right. And obviously she built it with me. Right.
Yeah.
When people look at my life and go, he's successful at certain levels, it's like, number one, I want you to know that I'm successful at marriage. Right. And then a successful father, and then almost being a friend and then business. Right. And I've had some successes. I've had some failures in business as well. But like, you're right, going back to your vein, it's like, I want you to look at that, or even look at McHenry or Nick or anybody that's in our group, Ben, Brackett. I mean, there's amazing men in our group. All of us are amazing.
Yeah.
And we just all need to look at ourselves. It's kind of like what I was saying at the end, right? When I was like, stop blaming your wife and kids for you guys. You don't need no damn inspiration. That thing should be inside you.
Yeah.
Stop being immature and being like, well, I love my wife so much, I'm going to be a good person. It's like, look yourself in the mirror and say, I love myself so much, I'm going to be a good person.
For sure.
And I get to define it.
Yeah.
Because I think whenever you don't do that, you push the responsibility on somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Like if your wife loses her mind in 5 years and cheats on you and blows your family up, that has nothing to do with you.
No, it doesn't.
And your goals as a person, right? Now, they might look at the relationship and see like there might have been some flaws here that ended up blowing up, right? Like, Not that, relationships are always perfect, but
Yeah.
no matter what happens to you in life, if you rely on you, you can go through anything and handle it.
For sure.
Without wasting your time being bitter or stupid or resentful.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
Preachy on the podcast.
No. I think that hits like right along the lines of, kind of what we've talked about in the past too. And honestly, I think with like where we're at in our lives is just, you have to learn to love yourself first. So have you ever done an Enneagram test?
No.
So it was recommended by my shaman. And so I went and did an Enneagram test, and I was a level 3 achiever, which just means that in order, like the way I viewed the world is that I had to achieve status or success to therefore have value.
Yeah.
And it was definitely bred in me, like my upbringing, it was always reward based. It was always based on what I did. Yeah. Did I get recognized? And I think I became a hyper achiever because I was always seeking attention. So I've been doing some like inner child work. I had to do that in preparation for a grandmother. Yeah. And so, and I realized when I was little, I was locked in my room because I had so much energy. I was just like all over the place. I was like hyperactive and whatever. But what kid isn't, right?
Right. Well, boy isn't,
No. And then like my parents unintentionally locked me in my room and didn't realize like the damage that it was doing to me. So like it's no fault of theirs. But like for me, I internalized that of I hated being alone. I hated being alone with myself. I always sought attention, good or bad, right or wrong. Like just it was something that I had to work out. And then on grandmother, like to explain the whole ayahuasca ceremony is kind of hard to put it into words, but basically it means to shed like a old life. It's almost like a rebirth. Yeah. And so I got to see that and kind of shed that view of how I viewed the world, that in order for me to have value in the world, I had to achieve. Now I don't give a shit. Like now I can just be present. Like that was the big theme from this whole weekend, right? Was being present 100% here. Yeah. Like right here and now, not on our phones, not on anything. And I struggle with that. Like I called my wife right after I think Luke Wren spoke, and I'm just bawling. And I'm like, I'm so sorry that I haven't been present, because my job never ends. Like with working in sporting goods and managing the state of Utah. And then also like the shoe game is just a side hustle. It's just fun, enjoyable. Yeah. But I'm also trying to get other investments popping. And the excuse I always made, right, is I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it. Yeah, exactly what we're talking about. Like I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it for their betterment. No, I was just being selfish and trying to focus on myself, that if I was achieving and I was having value. Well, now,
I'll tell you something.
Doesn't matter.
Dude. Not sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you're good.
There's this term out there that like I don't know, dude, it boils my blood. And it's when people stand up and go, I'm creating generational wealth. I want to bitch smack every person that says that. That's hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
If you want your kids to be fine after taxes and life and stupid decisions, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars for your generations to not have to worry about working again. It's like most people are never going to hit that. Yeah. And I think when people say that, but they have, number one, have no idea what that means, right? No idea how to make it happen. And I just think it's a distraction. Yeah. Right? Well, I'm focused on generational wealth. It's like, you got to walk before you run, bro. Why don't you get some shit taken care of? You got $20,000 of credit card debt. You know what I mean? Correct. Why are you yapping about generational wealth? And that actually kind of comes to being present. Yeah. Right? Your past is your past. Can't change it. It's correct. Done, right? Don't spend time in it. Yep. Right? Except for to learn lessons, but learn them. Get over it. You know? Then there's the future. And that's where I think when people say generational wealth, they're yapping about the future. And it's like, get out of the future. You need to get present, like as so present as you possibly can, because, and that's why like in what they teach us, like morning routines, habits, and like, have a plan, have a mentor, lean on the other guys in the group, right? Because if you're like, I can't not figure out how to make this happen, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're living in the present and you can't figure it out, we just got to come up with a plan. You just got to come up with a process, and then you're just going to go and execute it. And that's easy.
For sure.
Well, it's simple.
It's simple, yeah. Like words are words, right? And you can rearrange them or whatever. But really, it's you have to internalize that. Like you have to really take it to heart. And I think what Jimmy is doing with We Are the They is he's teaching us all these things that he's learned over a period of 10 years. And it's a lot. It really is. Like that's why he says to take notes, to write it down, to go back and refer to them. Because you can only improve like this much every single day. Like you can't, anytime you try to do it more than that, you're going to start exposing cracks. And that's where people have mental breakdowns, is trying to change too quickly. It's 1% changes. So yeah, I think exactly what you're saying is like, get into the present, be in the present. You can make plans for the future, but really it matters what you're doing right now. Yeah. Like you're in this minute in whatever you're doing.
And people need to be happy. That's a major part of this, right? Like you can't always, and everyone says this, you can't look at the future and go, when I hit her, I'll be happy. When I do this, I'll be happy. When I have this much money, I'll be happy. When my kids are this age, I'll be happy. It's like, dude, that is a fool's errand.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? You need to wake up every day. Like when I meditate every morning, which I'm a hardcore meditator now, right? I literally just think like, I'm going to be happy. What makes me happy? This makes me happy. My wife makes me happy. My friends, my relationships. Literally today I'm in the shower. I do it in the shower, right?
Yeah.
Mostly because there's white noise in there and I like it. It steams up and it's just like soothing a little bit. It just helps me get my mind right. And I'm like, okay, I've got 3 of my Watt brothers coming on today. That makes me happy. I get to see Jeremy today, dude. Yeah. I didn't even know you bringing my shoes. I'm like, hell yeah, I got more shoes today. But you know what I mean? Like Brad brought his motorcycle, took some funny pictures.
Dude, that picture is pretty hilarious.
And it's just like, but I get to spend time with him, and I'm even Dakota. And like, I'm looking at what my day is going to entail, and it just fills me with joy.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is amazing, And don't get me wrong, there's thoughts. I'm like, there's a couple business things I got to handle today. Like right after I'm done podcasting, one of my really good friends from high school, he bought a backstop from us for outdoors, right?
Okay.
And I always tell people, right, I'm like, I will sell anything to you at cost as long as you don't make me come install it for you, right? But you got to figure the install out on your own because it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, for sure.
But he can't figure it out, and then my guys didn't give him a rim. It's like, dudes, how could you forget a rim, But whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Life goes on. And they're funny, My employers are like, oh, so what should we do? And I'm like, I'll just take it down to them.
There you go.
Because it's like, whatever. Just do a good job for me. It's like the past thing, right? That's the past. Right now, do a good job.
Yeah.
Great. Easy.
Learn from the mistake. Move forward.
Yeah. But kind of going back to my meditation is about being happy.
Yeah.
And if there's anything out of harmony, like if there's something I can feel coming up or can foresee coming up, then I'm going to attack it now in the present, right? So that's not going to happen. For example, if I had some crushing debt, or if I was in a position where my net worth wasn't growing every year or every day or every month, I would go back and start reassessing those things during that meditation and go, okay, there's a couple tweaks I got to do. Maybe we're spending too much, or I've done this, or that's a bad investment. I need to get out of that. Like all sorts of stuff. And really, but the last minute of it, the whole time, I'm just like grateful. I'm like, okay, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. And then that's how I end it,
Yeah.
I wash my face and butt and get out of there. And then
in that order.
Yeah, exactly in that order. Face always, butt last.
There we go. Dude, meditation. So, whenever you do a plant medicine journey, and you've done several, I've done 3 now so far. I usually do once a quarter or something. It works for me. Yeah. But it's integration. The integration after the plant medicine, because they say, like, if you read all the research from Johns Hopkins University and different sources, Alex Huberman's also he just did a huge long podcast about that. So if anybody's looking at psychedelics to heal from their trauma, heal from their depression, or just trying to get better in general, because I don't think you necessarily have to have trauma to do plant medicine. Plant medicine helps break down the neural pathways and helps you think a little bit better, think a little bit different.
Well,
anyways,
with me too, going on that vein, I say this to people when we do it, right?
Yeah.
Is I go, listen, the first step for some people is to do the trauma.
Yeah.
Great. Then get over it.
Yep.
Right? Because the next phase of this is expanding your mind.
Correct.
Right? Yep. And that's where this is to me, that's where this is like wildly beneficial, right? I mean, yeah, sure. Like you can feel comfortable and safe and get you talk about your traumas and kind of put them to bed. You know, you'll have people surround you with love and say, hey, yeah, it's time, man. It's time to move on to this. Yeah. But then it's like, that's 1%. Yeah. 99% of it is like, man, look how massive this universe is. And I'm a part of it. For sure. Not only am I a part of it, I might have created it.
Correct. That's even crazier.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's the thing that like, it really does open your mind. Whenever I do plant medicine, I always feel like I am a god. I feel like I am a creator of worlds. And I'm actually going to Spain. When we go to Spain, I've lined up a tattoo artist where I'm doing a DNA strand on my forearm, and I'm going to have worlds on the outside as a reminder that we create our own reality.
Yeah.
And like we literally are. And Mick Henry just talked about this on his either Instagram stories or whatever. But really that's what it is. It's like entrepreneurs, you conceptualize the things that you're doing, and then you think about it, you visualize it, then you actually you create a vision board, you start to write it down, and then you start to actually make shit happen. You start to build whatever you are looking at. So that's why, I mean, Mick Henry was talking about entrepreneurs, but anybody does that. Like we really are creators of our own reality. And so if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like you're screwing up, like the thing is that it's the mindset. You keep on building that in your head. If you start to flip the switch and start being gracious, going back to gratitude, like you were talking about your meditation and everything, for me, I just am so thankful. I do a list either every day, whether it's morning or night, and I write how grateful I am for life. And I'm just so blessed to do the things that I do. I'm so blessed to have another day of life. Like all we can focus on is the next step forward, the day that we're there. You can plan out your week, you can make plans and whatever, but like something that we learned this weekend, you can have the plan of what you're going to do beforehand, like waterboarding, all the shit that we went through this weekend. Until the shit gets real, like you've got to just adapt and move forward. It's about being present.
Well, I think that's what was going on with some of the guys, right? So we had some guys mentally break down last weekend, right? For the people listening to this, we went on a ludus where we were POWs. We were slammed around. We had bags on our head. We were zip tied. We learned how to break out of it. We were put in boxes. We were waterboarded. We were beat up, you know. And the day before that, I
still got scrapes everywhere, and I'm still recovering.
Well, and the day before, we did UFC fighting, right? So we were doing round after round after round of UFC fighting, and it was just a explosion into people's minds of like, I'm not as strong as I think I am, and like, I could be really weak in this aspect, you know, because a lot of men think like, oh, dude, when time comes, you know, freaking G.I. Joe comes out, you know, and it's like, not if G.I. Joe's beating your ass, you know, like, oh, I got to really come away with this. And watching some guys break down mentally and them feeling that they're weak, right? I like the position I was very fortunate to be in a few times, right? Where I was like, you are not weak, right? You got broken down. Now you know the milestone, right? Yep. Let's go. Let's fix it. You know, be present, keep it moving.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. That's exactly like, so it's funny. I got a bunch of comments because I posted, I did the Down with the Sickness song. I did that. Anyways, so I did that to like a bunch of the videos that we had from the POWs. Yeah. And I had tons of comments on TikTok. They were like, these guys are wusses. This just seems like a Call of Duty thing. Like they're just ripping on it. And until you're actually in it, like you can make all sorts of judgments. You can make all sorts of different comments about what you're going through. But until you're actually there, like for me, I was like, the waterboarding is going to be the hardest thing. That was not the hardest thing for me. No. It was the freaking bag. The bag over the head was the worst part of the whole thing. Yeah. I literally had to keep on like lifting it up and trying to breathe and not hyperventilate.
Yeah.
And we both know Nick that he had to get a blindfold. Yeah. Like, dude, it was a mental fuck game. It really was. Excuse the language, but like it really was.
Explicit podcast.
Oh, okay. There we go.
I got that on episode 1. Don't worry about it.
Oh, there we go. We'll drop the F-bomb. Yeah. But dude, it was so hard. And I started to see stars. I was like, dude, this is way harder than I thought. Like, and I'm in pretty damn good shape. And so like doing the push-ups, and then we were doing the air squats, and then we were going up a ladder and jumping off a ledge that we had no idea what was going to happen. Like, dude, it was hard.
Yeah.
And so
the ledge thing, by the way, they need to actually make us jump off into something.
Yeah, I agree.
Because when I went to the top of it, they were like, jump. And I was like, well, I know I'm not jumping off anything because you would tell me to jump on my butt. You're going to tell me to straight leg off of something, you know?
Oh, yeah. No.
Busting spines.
You know, you're not.
Right. Yeah. So I was just like, think, you know?
Someone could have rolled an angle, dude. Like,
well, dude, yeah, it just hurts.
But luckily, Brian Pitcher was there, and he like grabbed me, and he was like, dude, I just love you. He does it in his raspy voice. Like, it was awesome. Honestly, it was a very transformational weekend. Honestly, I think it was the best Ludus yet. And like Moab for me, dude, that fucking changed my life.
Yeah. Well, one thing about you, you know, kind of in the essence of time on this podcast, because we talked about Hook for 30 minutes.
That's true.
And here's the deal. Like, if you guys really want to hear Jeremy's full story, go on Nick's podcast, you know, the Nick and Patient, because you really opened up about your childhood. And I'll just put it this way, and you can add, you know, a couple minutes to this, but like you had a really hard childhood, dude.
I did.
You went through some shit.
I did.
And even part of your life up until we went to Moab, right? You made some mistakes or whatever, you know, and like, but you have the most improved award of anybody in our group, you know, which I hope you just take that on as a banner, dude. Like
dude.
I want you to take it on as a banner, and then I want you to just come back into the group. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It makes me cry almost every time. Like, dude, like you, as soon as you said it, I'm like, I'm going to start crying.
Well, give us kind of the highlights. Why was your childhood hard?
So I'll try to give it in bullet points, right? So my mom was diagnosed with cancer when I was 2, breast cancer, and it spread to the rest of her body. She fought it for about 4.5 years. So she died when I was 6.5. My dad, in order to cope, took antidepressants that just messed with his head. Not to justify what he did, but he would beat the shit out of us. And so we left that when I was about 8 and went and lived.
Taken?
Yeah. One night he whipped us so hard that it left welts, and one of the teachers at school saw my brother's welts, and so they called Child Protective Services. This is when we were living in Vegas. So then my aunt and uncle came and adopted us after about 4 or 5 months after we were living in a child's haven. And they were alcoholics. And so, and they were the mental abuse. They were telling us that we were shit, we weren't worth anything. My uncle was a former Vietnam vet, and so very militarian. So I learned yes sir, no sir. I attribute to them like some of the good nuggets that I pull from. And honestly, like in life too, is you can either let something hurt you and let something bring you down and let something like so abusive, whether that's sexual, mental, or physical, you can either let that make you a victim or you can choose to be a victor. And I feel like for me, I've always taken that approach. I haven't let that ever try to hinder me in any sort of sense of the word. So, we lived with them for about 2 years, my aunt and uncle. One night they were screaming at us till like 2:30 in the morning, and our next door neighbor called the Child Protective Services. So we go and live in foster care for about a year and a half. My dad gets his rights back. We go and move with him to Rexburg, Idaho. I'm about 11 at this point. I get exposed to Boy Scouts and all of that, and love that, and learn to do the things that I do. You earn a merit badge and things like that. And my dad, all credit to him, he would help me like learn to sell. And anytime I went to him and I was like, Dad, can you take me here? Or Dad, can I get this? Or whatever. He was like, well, you got to earn it. And so that bred in me that I had to earn what I got all my life. And so the abuse didn't stop there. My dad, like, he's not perfect. One night he choked me out until I passed out in my cereal bowl. And like I say that not to elicit sympathy, just to give you a context of the level of abuse that I went through. It wasn't until I was about 15 or 16 that I finally stood up to him and I was like, if you're going to fucking hit me, I'm going to hit you back. And then that's when it stopped. So that was good. I also lived in a very like religious town. Rexburg is basically a mini Provo. And I was ostracized quite a bit. I was one, a new kid. Two, I lived with my dad in a shitty ass apartment growing up. And I was kind of looked down upon. He let me have some freedom. And that's what I loved about my dad and my upbringing. Like there were certain really good things that I loved what my dad did, that I've pulled nuggets and have applied that with my parenting style. But there's also, I know the trouble that I got in. I know that because I had so much freedom that I got into trouble. I wish my dad would have put me in sports more. But that's beside the point. I learned, like, I would dye my hair. I would do different colors. I would wear a punk belt to church. I would show up to pass the sacrament and in the LDS faith. And people would look down upon me, and people would ostracize. They would tell their kids that they couldn't hang out with me because of that. And it's just like, anyways, there is a level of judgment that happens within the church. There's also a level of perfectionism. And I think that's what hurts. I think there's a lot of really, really, really good principles that you learn in the church. For me, it was scouts, it was discipline, working hard, showing up for others, serving, loving, and caring for others. Like there's a lot of really good principles that I think the LDS faith teaches. So me and my wife, we live in a mixed marriage, or mixed faith marriage. So my wife is still active LDS. My kids go to church all the time. I choose not to. I left the church about 4 years ago. And when I say left, I just stopped going. I haven't removed my name or done any of that. And I honestly harbor no ill feelings towards it because I loved my mission. I don't know where I was going with that, but
well, one thing I want to point out, dude, while you're telling the story is, I first heard this story from you. It was in Bear Lake. Right? Do you remember that? Being up in my room with like me, Max, and Beret and Riley and all these guys, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, dude, like listening to you, and I was like, holy shit, you know? And even you telling the story right now, you're like, yeah, and there's these good parts about my dad. And it's like, how you don't hate your dad is a mystery. And even on top of that, at least until recently,
no, he's
living with you.
Yeah, he lives with me right now.
Yeah, you've taken him in.
Yeah.
I mean, bro, the power behind... There's few things that get me really contemplating stuff, right? Like you got to shock me, right? Yeah. And that night, I mean, we were telling funny stories, and you told us that.
We were laughing. I felt like I brought down the mood because you guys were all happy.
Well, screw that. So what? So what? But no, dude. I mean, I've thought about that multiple times, and I'm like, dude, there is a power inside you that you chose to open up, right? Where it's like, you know what? Yeah, bad shit happens. I'm focusing on the good.
Yeah.
Which is where people mentally break.
Yeah.
Right? They can't focus on the good. Yeah. I was uncomfortable as hell this weekend. It seemed pretty mentally okay for me because I'm joking and laughing and making stupid jokes. And
well, that's what you do. You make light of things.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things too is I think it brings people in like, yeah, this isn't that bad. It calms and it like provides that safe place, right? It's like, yeah, let's have some fun doing this. We have to do it anyways. Might as well have some fun, right?
Yeah.
But with you, man, when you told me that your dad was living with you and your brother too, right?
Yeah, my brother lives with me.
I was like, I almost want to be like, get them the hell out of there. Like they don't deserve it. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to say that to you, but then I was like, no, dude, don't rob Jeremy of what he's created. Like you've created that mental health.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's like, and that's really what I want to talk to you about today is like, that is so powerful. And I mean, you got your ass handed to you by life for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't absolve you from like, you know, mistakes you made and stuff like that. Right. But like, which is even cooler about you.
Yeah.
Right. Is it's like, yeah, I made some mistakes. I fixed those. That's how we should be. Yeah. Past is the past. Mm-hmm. You're living in the present. Right. And you just got to make decisions right now, dude. And you're like one of the best examples I've ever seen of just like pushing through.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel like that?
Yeah, I do. I feel like it's a superpower of mine, right? And before, I used to think it was a weakness. I used to think that so there was a pattern that arose in my life is that, and most people do this, right? I just recently learned this through one-on-one coaching, is that we'll put other people's needs ahead of ours to distract us from dealing with our shit. Yeah. To dealing with like the things that I do. So I took the approach of, let me serve. I keep on hitting this mic. I serve. I served so many people, and I was just like, I felt like I was burning the candle at both ends because I was constantly making other people the focus. And I was just like, I wasn't giving myself the self-love. I honestly wasn't giving myself time to heal and being alone with myself. And there's a lot of people that struggle to do that. A lot of people that struggle to be alone with themselves. And going back to what you're talking about is like, one of my superpowers is to basically extract the positive out of shit. Like, and I think David Goggins, in his new book, I just finished it, it's called Never Finished. He really talks about going to the darkness and extracting lessons that you can put into practicality in your own life. Yeah. And that's like the same with me. I've kind of taken that approach. And this happened long before David Goggins verbalized it and kind of connected the dots for me. But I chose never to allow my circumstances to dictate who I could become and where I wanted to go. I'm not the smartest dude. I struggle sometimes with my speech. I struggle with I have so many different weaknesses that I have, but I don't let my weaknesses hinder me. Like, I still love fully. And honestly, I think We Are the They has definitely helped me because I was out of integrity. Mm-hmm. I definitely was out of integrity. And when you're out of integrity, all is chaos. So cheating, whatever that looks like for you, it's how do I put it? The way we handle situations, what was his name? Mason Sawyer, that came and talked to us at Bear Lake, where he had his whole family pass away, his brother-in-law, his wife, and 3 of his kids, and his nephew. Like, holy shit. Like, there's other people that suffer a whole lot more than what you suffer for. And I'm like, well, I was abused and I was exposed to pornography very early on. I made mistakes. I don't let that hinder me. I don't let that shit happen. Like, 10% of life happens to you and 90% is how you react to it. So like, all we can do is try to react better. And sometimes we make mistakes. Like, sometimes I yell at my kids. Like, sometimes like that happens. But the thing is, and what I've learned is you can apologize and move forward. Like, with my children, anytime I make a mistake as a father or even as a husband with my wife, I try to correct it right away. I'm like, look, this wasn't my best self. I showed up in this way. I'm sorry I yelled, but I've told you 4 times to get something done, right?
Brush your teeth.
Brush your teeth, 100%. Yeah. Like, I think life gives you lessons. And like, like what we learned this weekend, choose your hard. What was your hard? Like, the harder life that you can live for yourself, the easier life will go. Like, it's so hard to like kind of conceptualize that, but it's the harder that you are on yourself, the harder or the easier life will be. Yeah. So like, I work out, and when I work out fucking hard. And when I put myself in uncomfortable situations, like joining this men's group, dude, it was a freaking stretch to pay. Like, we're part of the leadership group, so it's either $1,500 a month or $15,000 for the year. Yeah. Dude, I had tied up all my money on this investment, and Jimmy's like, well, as soon as you close up on this investment, just pay me. And I was like, oh, that just shows like the level of commitment that Jimmy is willing to do to help us heal, because he understands that so many men need this movement, and it's been life-changing for us. I think it's gonna be life-changing for loads of men. And I have all these friends that will comment and like, why'd you get waterboarded? Or why are you doing these things? And I explain to them that you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. It's purposefully being discomfort or being uncomfortable. So that way you can show up better in life. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like, for me, life has always happened for me, not to me. Yeah. And I've always chose, and Ben really does this in his speeches, right? Victor over victim.
Yeah.
Like I wrote this whole post about that, and it hits hard. That's realistically like what we should be looking at. Quit being a victim. Quit focusing on the shit that's happening to you. You know, people have gone through a lot of hard things. I had a buddy that slipped on some ice and became a quadriplegic out of nowhere. And watching him struggle, and he's got 3 kids and 1 on the way. His wife is trying to piece everything together. Like there's real shit that goes on. Yeah. But yet he still was humorous. Like he put on a man thong while he was doing physical therapy to just make people laugh. Yeah. Like we can really use things that happen to us and make it better. Like people lose arms and limbs and different things, yet they're the happiest people in the world. Like people that have everything that for them, like we have both eyes, we can hear, we can see, we can do so many different things that other people cannot. Like we should be so grateful for the life that we have. We should be so grateful for being able to wake up and love the people that we have in our lives. Yet we focus on the superficial. We focus on materials. We focus on how do I do this, or how do I make more money, or how do I get this promotion, or whatever it may be. Like that shit doesn't matter.
Well, that's what's crazy, right? Is we focus on all that stuff so that we can have good relationships.
Yeah.
Focus on having good relationships.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you've been in the business world long enough. It's all relationships.
It really is.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've introduced me to some of your bosses, right?
Yeah.
On BSN.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're early, but like, we'll see how this actually goes, but we're perfect fits. And it's like, you were on that conference call, right? With, with Eric, right?
Yeah.
Like you see how it's done, right? It's like, hey, we can do all this stuff for you. And like, there's this thing where Eric and I start jiving and start liking each other, start building that trust. It's all a relationship thing, right?
Yep.
Because he doesn't really have to, when that conversation was over, he doesn't have to qualify me as being able to do what he wants, right? He's really qualifying me to be like, is this someone that I want to work with? You know, and that part of that is, will he do what he says? Can they execute? And it's like, as those relationships get fostered, right? And then as we start proving a little bit, doing a couple jobs here and there, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh crap, this is the perfect solution for this. And it all comes down to that relationship.
100%. It's building that trust, right? Like, yeah, again, like going back to what we talked about at the very beginning of this is like shoes for me is an icebreaker. Like it just helps me like get in there. Or like, I had this business meeting with American Fork High School where we're talking to them about a business deal. And I have a couple tattoos. I've just recently got tattoos over the last 2 years. And now like people can see them, and it breaks down barriers. Like for some guys, like I had this principal, the principal for American Fork High School. He's like, dude, let me see your ink. And like, we just start having a conversation about it. Like, and then you're able to build that relationship. Like it really is. Life is all about the relationships that we build. And I have really taken to heart what Jimmy has preached, which is reaching out to a minimum of 3 people. I try to reach out to at least 10 people every single day. And it is just, dude. And it fills me. Like you and I text back and forth throughout the day. Yeah. Nick hits me up, like Matt Barre, I can't even know how to say
yeah.
Barre. There we go.
Whatever, call him Matt Barr. Matt Alabama.
The British guy. Yeah. So like I reach out to guys consistently, and it has made my life better. It really has. Like everyone talks about, like this weekend I bawled like freaking, I'm always crying. I'm definitely an emotional guy. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. And I reach out to guys consistently because it's like when you reach out, like John Hammond, like I reached out to him. He's like, dude, you're the mother effing man. Like, thank you so much. This means the world. Like just a genuine, like, hey dude, I love you. Just was thinking about you, reaching out. And you talked about this on the podcast before, right? Reaching out to guys consistently. When you feel it, like intuition, do it.
Yeah.
Like inspiration is so limited. So take advantage of the inspiration that comes in and reach out to that person. Mend any fences that you have going on. Like, life is too fucking short for you to hold a grudge.
Absolutely is.
Yeah.
And it only hurts you.
It only hurts you.
Every time I've seen someone hold a grudge, it's like the other person couldn't give a shit.
Correct. Yes. Like, and so, like, for instance, Tony, who you've had on the podcast, I resented him at first. So we were in Moab, and he said some stuff, like he kind of spoke and he said some things, and I was like, Tony, that was really rude. Or like he was pretty blunt about something. And I'm like, that really bothered me. So I kind of held that against him. But after January, I did a plant medicine journey. I made it an intention for Bear Lake that I was going to connect with certain people. And I do that going into every Ludus. I'm very intentional about who I'm going to reach out to and who I'm going to talk to. Like, I don't hang out with you too much because you and I have a working relationship and we have a great relationship outside of that. And I talk to you all the time. So I don't feel like I need to focus my energy and time with you. I can go and focus on other people. Yeah. And so, like, I got to meet Bridger this time, and then I got to know Tony. Getting back to the point, I got to know Tony, and he's one of the kindest, most genuine human beings. And he's on this spiritual journey right now. And it's just like, it's so beautiful. And Cody was the other guy. Cody is just a little bit more shy and reserved. Yeah. And you and I were very extroverted. And so it's harder for me to connect with guys that are a little bit more introverted. So I made it a point to connect with Cody. And we did this meditation with him and Ryan Bingham. And Cody is one of the kindest, nicest human beings you'll ever meet. And he had a great breakthrough this weekend. Like, he is an amazing, amazing dude. And I was actually going to stand up and call out a few of the guys. But, like, what was nice about this time is I got to sit back and just watch. I got to play the observer a little bit and watching guys go through breakthroughs. Like Chris, who you're going to have on the podcast next. Like, Chris had this amazing metaphor of that he felt backstabbed, and yet it cut open the wings for him on his back and he could fly with the eagles, and he called us the eagles. Like, life is so beautiful when you just focus on being present and you just focus on making other people the main event. Like, we learned that on our conference with Justin Wren, the UFC fighter. Mm-hmm. Making other people the main event has made my life, has made my life so much better. It really has, dude. Like, I focus on my kids now more. I focus on my wife more. I focus on others. And when you do that and you genuinely show up and love and care for people, like, it makes life so beautiful. And, like, every day I get to wake up and fucking have the best day ever. Yeah. Like, last night or yesterday, it was my brother's 40th. He's a little bit overweight. He weighs about 650 pounds. And he's always struggled with weight. And he is so fucking smart, which what pisses me off about it is that he's so talented. Anyways, and we got to just celebrate my brother, and we had friends come in out of town. We built like this whole surprise birthday party for him up at Sundance. And it's like, making other people feel value just fills your cup. It just, at least for me, it does. Fills my cup and makes me just want to show up more for people and care for people more. And yeah, dude, I think that's something like that you do extremely well, and you do it innately. Like, this isn't something that maybe you've built this muscle over time, but when you make other people the main event, it just makes your life so much more abundant.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, dude. And it fills your cup too. You know, it's not just for you; it's the same for everybody. I wish people would learn that damn lesson early. Yeah, you know. There's a weird thing in life where people think they'll call it putting people down, or it's a massive insecurity that people have, right? Where they're like kind of one-upping, or like, well, look at me, you know? And it comes from a million different reasons, right? Yeah. It could be a second kid, the older brother was a star or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But when people get it, you know, it's like, yeah, dude, when I make other people feel good, you know, that's when life gets real good for me. And everything, your kids, your wife.
For sure.
You want your kids to hang out with you once they're 18, you better have made them feel good for 18 years.
Oh, yeah.
You know, or they're going to be like, get me the hell out of here.
That's one thing I admire about you, and you and I are very similar. Maybe it's our gingerish, our ginger souls.
My old ginger hair.
Yeah. But I've always used social media as a journal for my children.
Yeah.
And you do the same thing. Like, that's what your whole, like, this is your legacy. Like, you're doing the podcast, and the reason why you do so many podcasts is because you're journaling basically for your children. Yeah. That's what I do. Like, I journal for my kids. I do podcasts with you, and I've done with Nick. I'm going to be starting my own. And it's all for the purpose of journaling. And I might not always have the right things to say. I might not always have the best guests that are on, and I might not write the best things that are on social media. But the thing is, I'm not trying to garner likes. I'm not trying to garner views. Honestly, this is all for my children. I'm trying to build a legacy where my kids see me living my fucking dreams. Yeah. Because, like, Ben put this really well, and he brings up Ed Milet, and he says that's a new form of child abuse, is adults. Like, we tell our children to go live your dreams, yet we don't go live ours. Isn't that kind of oxymoronish? Like, we need to go live our dreams, and living for ourselves is the best example that we can provide for our kids. How much more we can live life, like jumping off the cliff. We're going to do running with the bulls. Like, other people just, like, they look at that and they're like, that sounds stupid. Or, like, thing is that's always been my dream. Like, I watched City Slickers as a kid, and dude, I watched City Slickers as a kid, and seeing the running with the bulls with that, like, that implanted in me, like, I want to go do that. And so, like, as soon as I joined We Are the They, heard that we were going to do Running with the Bulls in 2023, I was like, I'm fucking going. I'm showing up. And now I'm flying out. Like, normally I do like a big 4th of July party. Yeah. I'm flying out on the 4th to go there. Yeah. Like, I'm just so stoked. Yeah, I'm so stoked about, like, the experiences.
That's hilarious, man, because I'm the exact same way, dude. City Slickers is the reason I want to do this. It's been on my top 5 bucket list thing since I saw that stupid movie, and he gets speared.
Yeah, he does.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's not like it's an inspiring moment. It's like him, like, being a dumbass, basically getting, you know, speared by the bull. But I'm so excited for Running with the Bulls.
Oh, dude,
I don't even know why.
Have you seen some of those memes where, like, a bull takes this dude's pants off? Like, I've had so many friends just send me random memes after I tell them that I'm going to do Running with the Bulls, and they're like, this is Jeremy after. Yeah. And it's like a dude gets speared, stomped on, but gets his whole pants ripped off by a bull. I was like, all I have to do is outrun the guy next to me. Like, I'm going to be safe, dude. I'm pretty damn fast.
Oh, we're good. Oh, we're totally good.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun.
So,
but
good,
yeah, I think something that at least that I want to say is that if you can show up better for yourself, like, number one, your life is going to get so much better if you can actually just take the time for yourself. And for me, I go and work out every morning. My mornings are sacred. I usually get in the hot tub to do a post-recovery. I take a bunch of pills, like supplements and different things like that, to make me a better, more efficient human being. And that's what works for me. And then I get to work and I bust my ass. And then at night, I do hape, I meditate, I listen to journey music, I journal, and I go to bed. Like, I have certain habits that I have built for myself, and that's what gives me peace. And then therefore I'm able to show up better for other people when I give myself my me time. Yeah. And so I do you do anything for yourself? Like, what's something that President McCormack does?
I do a lot for myself, man. Yeah. I work out. I'm the same way as you, man. When I work out hard. Yeah. So I've been going on some walks with my wife every now and again. I spend a lot of time, as much time as I can, with my kids. That which is funny. That's for me. Yeah. You know? And then I meditate every morning.
There you go.
So I don't read books. I'm done. I read all the books I need to. That's a whole nother freaking podcast. But, I'll give my full opinion on that on our next Ludus.
Okay, there we go.
So everyone kind of be like, why is he saying don't read
I listen
books?
to a lot of audiobooks, but like I struggle to read.
Yeah. Well, my major thing, just to keep it real close here, is it's like I've read so many self-help books. I've read a lot of philosophy books. Mm-hmm. It's time to implement that shit and live my life.
Yep.
I'm not gonna hide behind reading books for the next 25 years. At some point, dude, that you just not.
You got to execute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like Atomic Habits is my favorite book to shit on, right? Because I'm like, this book's 250 pages. It should be 5.
Yeah.
Right. Like the principles in this book, and here's a litmus test, right? Uh-huh. When someone says it's the most amazing book ever, you go, okay, what's the best 3 things out of it? They're gonna go, well, get vulnerable, and I was inspired, and I just go do it. Okay. Thank you, and I don't need to read that book. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I already knew that.
Yeah.
And if you really look at your time, right? Time is the only currency.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
12, 15 hours to knock a book out if you read it. Mm-hmm. Audiobooks are 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Right? You're reading, let's just say 10 books a year just to keep it easy. That's 80 hours, 80 to 150 hours a year that you're wasting reading books where you could be with your family. You could be having experiences with friends. Mm-hmm. That is a shit ton of time.
It is.
So stop wasting it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're reading self-help books. Good God. Just go do it.
Yeah.
Brene Brown's written 9 books on vulnerability.
Holy shit.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. And here's another thing. And I'm fine with them making money. I'm a capitalist myself. They write books to make money. They're 250 pages because that's how many pages the book needs to be for it to be marketable, because no one's going to buy a book that's 30 pages long. It's a pamphlet. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And so anyways.
It's an ebook.
Yeah, I guess I'm giving you my opinion right now.
No, I love that. I love that. I think your approach is awesome. And some people, they've got to read it. Like for me, I listen to podcasts. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I think I like Jimmy's perspective where he talks about like you pull from all these different sources, and like everything that we've been talking about are things that I'm just regurgitating from things that I've learned, whether that's from the audiobooks, whether that's from friends or movies. Like a lot of my humor comes from movies, like very similar. Like it's the inputs, how much you're putting in. I saw like this really cool meme where it shows all these different faucets pouring into this cup, and it's like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, books, audiobooks, and different things. And then there's a spigot for creativity, and it's shut off, so your cup's overflowing. It's like you gotta limit the amount of inputs that are coming in.
See, and if I was to draw that, I'd knock all those out of there and put people.
Yep.
Ryan pours into me, Jeremy pours into me, Mark pours into me, Nick pours into me, Jimmy pours into me.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to learn way more talking to somebody for 30 minutes than you are going to read a freaking book.
Oh, for sure. And then you're going to remember it, and it's going to eternally bond you for that. Like you talked about like how we had the conversation in Bear Lake and how that stuck with you. Like it's the conversations that we have. And like, honestly, when we go to these Luduses, yes, like the difficulties and the different things are there, but honestly, the best part is the conversations and the people that are there. Yeah. It's not necessarily what we're doing, even though it's difficult and hard as fuck. It's the people, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. Well, dude, we've hit our time limit, man. So this is fun. Dude, I thank you for talking hook with me.
Yeah, dude. I love you, dude. I appreciate you. And I think the world of you, man. Honestly, I do. I look up to you big time. And I think you're in the best position ever as a leader for group 2, but also like the things that you're doing, you're living as an example. And I just love you for that.
I appreciate it, dude. I feel the same way about you, really. So I hope you always view us as peers.
For sure.
So we'll find an inspiration from each other.
Oh, there we go.
So now everyone gets to give me the best 2 minutes of advice, though, and I don't want to rob you of that.
Okay.
Even though that would have been the perfect time to end this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, you give me 30 seconds, 2 minutes, dude. What's your best advice? If you were on your deathbed, just like give me the one thing that the world needs to hear.
Let it be. Take the Beatles song and listen to that. Let it be. Too often are we trying to force things. Too often are we trying to make things happen for us or to us. Well, just let it be. Be in flow. You know, I think the words, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me singing or speaking the words of wisdom, let it be, let it be. Like, it's about being present. It's about what is happening for you, not to you. Just let things be. That's probably the best advice I could give.
Yeah. Awesome, dude.
Love you, dude.
Jeremy, I love you too, man. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.